Hey there, and welcome to another Dave Does video. And today we are checking out talking about the making of the 12 Year Horizon song Breaking Barriers music video. So this is a video I shot with the guys back in mid-June, I think it was. We did it over about a 5-hour shoot. I've done a reaction video talking about the video itself. I just wanted to take you through the process that we used to come up with the video and the video concepts, etc., and just show you some of the editing that I did and what sort of effects we used on there to make the video. So the first thing, obviously the most important thing about doing the music video, was we had the song. I asked the guys for the lyrics, which we got, so I could read the lyrics, try and get an idea about the concept. Now in some cases with music videos, your band will automatically know what they want, and then you can work with that. In some cases, like in this case, the band were quite completely open to me and said, we haven't got a concept at this point in time. They even said, pick a song off the EP and let us know which one you like. I said Breaking Barriers. They liked the idea. Then they said, we haven't got a concept for it, so if you want to come up with something. So there's lots of things you can do. We had an original concept which was to shoot, we decided to make it about abuse or depression or standing up. So we thought if we could get each band member to shoot something in their own home, to save me having to go around and film it, but get them to film themselves being like either whether it's domestic abuse or partner abuse or something along that line, and then as the video progressed we would get them to stand up against their people that were abusing them to show the transition of the song. So where someone who's basically being oppressed to the point where they are stronger and they're taking control, and that was the idea originally of the video. We were going to shoot it against green screen, and then have these images as each member of the band appeared on the screen, images that correspond. Unfortunately, the footage that we got wasn't quite where we needed it to be. We tried a couple of different things with it, but it just didn't really work. So what we then did was decided to go with stock footage, and then what we've done is we've got everything we needed in here. So what I'm going to show you is some of the stuff. So these are all the folders. If I just show you the amount of stuff that's on the timeline. So on here we've got the various filters. Now I decided rather than just doing bits of filters, I wanted to basically layer up different effects and filters. This is all the random footage that we've got. Now each of these little bits of footage was an actual full take that was then cut into sections. We've got the titles at the beginning, some effects over the titles. We've got another filter on the top of here, which is all the background footage, and then we've got the audio. The audio is broken into a couple of different sections, so to help me out with some intro stuff. And then we've got the titles again at the end over here. So everything's got to be layered, because this is literally like you would layer it on as filter level. So it starts with the background, which is all the stock footage. Now if I mute out, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you some of the stuff that we've got on here. But to start with, what we've got here is, so this is the raw footage. So this was us in the studio. I filmed it. So this was just like the basic. This was filming the bass. So we've got green screen here, which is put on a frame. Weirdly, we've got a lot of depth to it, but getting enough height. The frames they give you for these sort of stands are just not tall enough. So we had to put them on these little tiny stools to get a bit of height. He's a tall bugger, this guy. We've got the amp in the background. Again, we had to put a secondary green screen along here. Even with these big green screens, you really need a green screen room. We used a rehearsal studio to shoot it, and this was like, I asked him to like do early takes. You can see this one was we had two cameras. One was a wide camera, and then we had this one, which was the close-ups. And so one of the issues I had is, if you can see here, we've got light green up here. I've got dark green here where the shades. This made when we took the green out, because unfortunately what I really needed was to take him forward. But if I took him any further forward, the issue I was going to have was, if you see it nearer the beginning, if I bring him any further forward to shoot it, I'd actually get up the top here. I'd actually get the top of the frame, and it means I'd get part of the ceiling. Would be a problem. But as the song progressed, we decided to put the amps in. That was something that they requested. The other thing for consistency I said was I wanted to make sure you could see the guitar cables. A lot of music videos you see the guys playing instruments with no cables. If you're gonna pretend to do something, try and do it realistically to some degree. Now one issue here, when you get someone moshing and you're trying to do green screen, the green screen's trying to catch up and take all this green out in between his hair, so I got pixelation issues again because he's too far back against the screen, but was something we fixed for the edit. But basically each band member had to do, I think we did 3 or 4 takes per band member performing, which is what we did here. Then each of these videos were then synced up with the audio and dropped into a timeline. So like here we've got Tyrone on drums. Again, similar issue I've got here is I've got various green screens, and because to get the whole drums in, I've had to put him quite far back. The issue is I've got a bit of bleed on here, so it's not an ideal. A green room would have been a much easier option, but we didn't have that budget to work with. Well, actually, we probably would have if we hadn't used the rehearsal studio, but rehearsals gave us an option for playback. But again, same sort of problem over here on this cymbal. I've got this crease line coming off the green screen. We were getting reflections, you can see on the cymbal, and at the bottom of this drum I've got this green. That meant when I did the editing to take out the green screen, I had a few problems. It's a learn. I learned from it. Anyway, so what does that look like when you then put it into all of this stuff at the bottom? So I'm going to bring up the timeline up here. Now you can see I've got all of this stuff going on. So if I go back to this section, the main thing I had to try and do, which got this lovely kind of distorted element. Let me just bring up over the screen a little bit more. You can see it a bit better. Oh crap! Don't know what I'm doing. I need to go over here. There we go. Yeah, you don't need to see me. I'm going to sit over here behind. Yeah, I'll sit here just behind it. There you go. So if I show you as I do this, all the different elements we put on. So this is, we did a couple of different ones. There's comic book effect, which I quite liked, but the guys weren't for it, so we take that off. Then we've got the vignette. The radius thing just basically smooths out the edges. So there was this whole edging thing that I wanted to try and remove to make it less crisp there. Beautify. See, straight away it's gone very dark now. We had a glitch fuzz. We had shadow. We had a camera shake, so the camera just basically gave me a natural camera move. We've got Seox, which is basically gives me this effect. Digital effect overlay, which is what gave me all these lovely glitching effects. We have cinematic operation. We have blue explosion. We have urban heavy. So that now takes off all the filters. So now what we've got is just, and then over the background effects we've got what's called Sin City, which is kind of this darkening effect. That now gives me this effect over here. So as you can see here, the difference between the front ground and the background without these things on is quite significant. So as I put them back in again, the Sin City, come on. There you go. So Sin City gives you this kind of cool dark effect. It takes out some of the colour, it bleaches it out for us. The Urban Heavy just kind of gave us this lovely cool, just kind of made it a bit grittier. Blue Explosion opens some light focus, but again there's too much colour going on in here. So Chromatic Aberration. What that Chromatic Aberration does is it just gives us this every so often this little twitching, which is kind of cool. The Digital Effect Overlay, that gives us this cool glitch. But as you can see, I had this, I think this is where I got to with them, and then I was like, this still doesn't feel right. So we add this layer in, which is the Seoxy. And what that does is it kind of takes a little bit of colour out. But again, we're still quite dark. And the camera needed to be moved a bit, so we put in what's called a mild filter. And all that does is it moves the camera left and right a little bit at a time rather than quite quickly. Shadow. Come on, shadow. Now the shadow, actually, I put it as a reverse shadow, so I basically brightened it up a little bit, so that it gives us a bit more even. It starts to take some of this colour, some of that bleachy, weird effects off. And we put glitch fuzz in over the top. That basically helps kind of cover up any sort of bleeding. And then finally, we've got, as you can see here up in this corner, we've got all this sort of quite crisp line. So by putting this vignette radius in, that smooths that out, so it kind of blurs it for me. Then I've got beautify, and beautify basically just switched the whole thing into almost a chromatic look. And then if you really wanted to, you had the comic book effect, which just turned it into looking like a comic book, which I am going to be using on another video, but they didn't want that. So I think this is pretty much what we ended up with as a effect. So we had this really cool overall tone, which if I took off all the other bits now, so I've taken two things off there, which is the urban heavy and blue explosion. It feels far too much like they're sitting in front. It doesn't feel like they're part of the video, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. So if I took it all the way back, took the digital effect off and took the... oh, where's the fuzz gone? Which fuzz? This one. We then have this pretty much clean, with just a bit of beautify and a bit of shadow added to it. And to me, this just felt... it's just them singing in front of a green screen. It didn't feel that they were connected in any shape or form. And then the outro one, which was as simple as lining up the video of them doing the walk, which is here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. And what I had to do here was reverse the footage, if I remember right. Which I think was in transform. There isn't. It's either transform or composition. There's a way of doing it. I can't remember what I did with this. I either flipped it or did something to it. But yeah. Oh, I think it's under speed, isn't it? Yeah, reverse speed. So you can do this thing called reverse speed, which basically just takes the video, it spins it around, and then you can change the speed if you need to. I had the speed set, so it basically, if I play it when I didn't reverse it, it goes like this. So they're all walking backwards there, which is how we actually shot it. But we wanted them to do it the other way around, so we just put in reverse speed. And instead of that, they actually will now walk forwards, which is kind of a useful tip to have. If it ever wants to catch up with me. And then all these filters. So the good thing about the stock footage that we've got, if I take the band out of the equation, there we go. So we've got all this stock footage in here. All of this is actually just available as part of the program. I'm using Filmora, so if I go into stock media, there's a whole load of stuff in there that we can use. It's quite useful. You get it as part of your monthly subscription, so you have to pay as you go. I think I just typed in the word abuse because that was what we were searching for at the time. And loads of the footage that we used in the actual final cuts. It's basically there. And we just used that, dragged it in, dropped it into sequence. So it wasn't actually that difficult. The hardest part was getting the green screen blend, because when you're doing something like... let's bring up one of the shots. So like something like here, if I go to where the green screen option is, so if I turn chromatic key off, or the chroma key off, what I've got is this lovely, you can't see the footage because he's all in the background here, that's basically the drums with no chroma key. But if I go to chroma key, put it back on, and then what I've got to do is select, you get to select the God, I can't find what I'm doing there. Yeah, select the colour. So select, and then you've got to try and adjust everything out. The reason why this isn't working is because I've got all these other filters on, which I need to take back off. I'm going to show you. Let's beautify, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Okay. Now if I pick it, and I pick like that, there we go. So that's now been removed out the screen, but you can see all this big blur. So what you've then got to do is do the offset. Get that quite tight on the body. But see, look how much green screen's coming back in there. So I've got to try and take it to a point. If I go too tight, what happens is I lose all these skin shells. I've got to change the edge thickness. Narrow that down maybe a little bit there. Maybe don't feather it quite as much. There we go. It's a bit cropping. See, this feathering smooths it all out. Makes it very blurry. So we're going to get rid of this edge so it's a bit crisper. And then what I had to do is I think I brought the offset in just enough that I could see everything. This took the longest, having to go through each camera angle and work out how to get everything cut out was a challenge. Don't know why I'm trying to do it so much now, but it's see, I've lost all this hi-hat symbol here, which is a problem. I can't remember how I bloody did this. I think I picked a different sort of colour, but yeah, that's basically what you've got to then do. That spent more time on this video trying to do it. So getting the green screen right in the first place would have probably been a lot easier, but I didn't really think about that once we were in the studio. So once that was done, we gave a lot of different options. I think we did 6 different varieties of it. Export it all out, and then jobs are good. And simple as that. But lining it all up, and also, I mean, one of the biggest things I found with doing this video was initially I had the files, the video files, on a separate hard drive to the program that I'm using. Now the issue there is it's got to go through the network, so it's always important to put your video files on the actual place that you're actually working, on the same folder as the actual program. Much quicker. Don't generate proxy files, they take forever to load up, and you have to keep doing it each and every time that you load up the program. It's not worth it. It chews up so much memory on your system. Just have your original folders on the same file. So hopefully that helps. I hope you found it interesting to talk about how I went around the process of putting this video together. Now if you like this video, please do subscribe, click the bell icon, like, share, and that of course is how Dave does it.